Testing, testing, testing. All right, guys, this is your host of Love the Game 24/7 podcast with Coach Jeff Smith. I appreciate you guys joining me, and I just hope that you've had a great day and that you got home and have gotten relaxed and you had some time either to watch this live or you've caught the recording. And so, are you
Are you ready?
ready this evening to get some more great recruiting knowledge and thoughts from Coach Smith with Love the Game 24/7? And guys, I just hope and I appreciate you. Um, Let me just first say that I really appreciate those who, whether you're friends, classmates, childhood friends, you're from the neighborhood of the Berg in St. Petersburg, Florida. I appreciate everyone's um, being a part of this and liking and following and subscribing and sharing. I appreciate you guys and just continue to help me grow this platform and grow this podcast. Um, and it's just exciting to continue to keep things rolling. And I'm going to be taking this to another level with some um, live and recorded interviews um, as it pertains to recruiting with different people. So I'm working on setting up those things for this month. And so I'm excited to do that and take this podcast to another level. So you're not just always hearing from me, but you can hear from some other experts in the college athletic recruiting atmosphere or space, right? So it's always good to get others. And I've had a lot of people who wanted to, who've seen me and have watched and would love to come on, and I would love to have them, and I'm planning on having them and just finding availability and working it out with them and getting some things scheduled. So look for that coming, and please hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel in the left bottom corner. There, be sure that you're sharing and getting the word out. Um, School is out now for the most part for a lot of areas. I know it is for us here in North Carolina. I think we're winding down tomorrow or Friday. It just depends. Some kids are already out because they did well. So just want to be sure, to get that out there. And it's, summer camp time, right? And for you young athletes, you young boys and girls, or you young women and young men that are out there looking to just to get better in your sport or sports and to help gain some exposure and to grow your platform and to grow your um, exposure so you can get yourself or yourselves an athletic scholarship in your sport or band, could be band, cheerleading, all those things count as well, along with having some good academics and getting some academic money if you're that kind of a student as well. So I'm excited to be back with you. Been a lot going on. I've been traveling. As I said, I was in Sioux City, Iowa, a couple of weeks ago with a former teammate and buddy of mine who's originally from North Carolina. We played ball together out there at Morningside University now. But at the time we were there, it was Morningside College in the NCAA Division II of the North Central Conference, and we were the Morningside Chiefs. But now they're the Mustangs, and love and glad to support my alma mater out there in Sioux City, and my former teammate, college buddy, who's now named the new head coach out there at a local high school, Sioux City West. Um, and I shared, well, let me just pause for a second. I'm, I did this, I'm redoing this um, podcast on what do you know about athletic recruiting because apparently I didn't realize my voice wasn't being recorded. So I'm hoping it's being recorded today. So that was a little disappointing, but hey, we live and we learn, and and I don't have a problem going back over it because I know it's important information, you know, to get out. So I'm going to share some of that. But as I said, my buddy is new. head coach out there, and I was had the blessing of going out there and doing some camps for the elementary and middle school kids on one day, and then with his high school athletes the next day on that Friday that I was out there. I was out there from Wednesday through Saturday, but we did the camps for the kids on Thursday and Friday. So it was good to see him and see some of his athletes out there that I do believe have the ability. He has some players on his team that should be going to college somewhere, but they got some work to do and getting themselves and gaining exposure. I had an opportunity to do a presentation out there for the parents and the athletes out there at the high school, and a very well known and famous person from that high school for you guys who are um, basketball heads. You know, you college and NBA, and even high school who follow high school b-ball basketball. Kirk Heinrich, who was a star player at University of Kansas, and then was also drafted by the Chicago Bulls, where Michael Jordan hails from in the NBA with the Bulls winning those championships. But Kirk Heinrich is an alum of Sioux City West High School out there in Sioux City, Iowa. Um, and it's amazing. Probably during the time that I was there in college, I believe he was um, growing up probably in middle school at the time. I don't even think he was in high school at the time. He might have been in middle school. So it's just amazing that sometimes where you're blessed, with God bless you to go in some travels um, and be in a place where somebody like Kirk Heinrich, who was a very good basketball player, star player at Kansas, and like I said, was a good, pretty decent ball player in the NBA. But that's his alma mater, Sioux City West High School. Um, and also my buddy, my college buddy, who I told you I went out there to help, he's also cousins with Kenny Anderson, and he had Kenny Anderson out there last week, helping him raise money for the program out there for his football team. I think he was out there last week raising money, but they're cousins and they're close. And so he's done a lot of things with Kenny Anderson, as you all know, one of the uh, well-known um, guards to come out of the city of New York, right? Out of that city or state, however we want to put it, um, out of the state of New York, city of New York. Hey, it is New York, New York, right? So um, I'm right either way, city or state. So, but Kenny Anderson's probably one of the top guards that have come out of there, and he's probably near the top of that list. But he's a cousin of my college football teammate and track teammate, and Stephon Pearson out there doing great things. He has a heart, man, to help get this program turned around. I know he's going to get them back on the map. There's a lot of great talent out there in Iowa, um, and I recognize that in my time being out there going to college, my 4 years out there playing college football in the best conference in Division II during my time, because the championship um, always came out of our conference. In more cases, it was North Dakota State at the time before they moved up to FCS. They were usually the national champions, or maybe South Dakota was in there, or North Dakota was sometime in there. During our time in there, we made a lot of progress and turned that Morningside program into a winning program before I left out of there. So proud to say that. And I also had a lot of success on the track and field in the 4x1 and 4x4 relays. Not so much the individual, but definitely in the relays, man, we were always at the top. As a matter of fact, I'm a two-time conference champion in the North Central Conference in the mile relay, my junior and senior year. So I'm proud to be able to say that from Morningside. So, but yeah, it was great going out there, man, spending time with those kids, helping them understand what they're going to need to do to get their program turned around. And they got a coach, and Coach Pearson, who's been a part of turning programs around, like at Morningside. So he understands what it's going to take, and he's trying to do his best out there to help these young people gain some exposure. As a matter of fact, we were on the phone today talking to one of his former players that is playing JUCO football out there in Iowa, out there in Iowa Central Community College, running back that I had a chance to talk to today, trying to help him um, with his college career and going beyond JUCO football eventually, and just talking with him and helping him understand the recruiting process. So that's why it's important to have this conversation on that I put out there. What do you know um, the athletic recruiting, about athletic recruiting? And if you don't know much, that's why it's good to be a part of this podcast with Love the Game 24/7. You got Coach Derek Tatum with Elite Talent Football is doing big things, taking kids around right now on recruiting trips and camps. You definitely need to check him out. He has a lot of great content out there as well. Before You Go Pro is another great resource in learning the recruiting process, along with what we are doing here, what I'm doing here, what Coach Smith is doing. So there's a lot of people out there giving some great content. Um, and a lot of people doing it in different ways. Okay, and a lot of people have experience, just like had the blessings of playing at every level. All right, growing up, and also being able to have kids that I raised up to play um, at every level. I've got not just my son I've coached that's had the blessing of playing at every level. I had another young man that was just drafted. I had his three older brothers that I had the blessing of coaching. Then I had the blessing of coaching Johnny Newton, who just got drafted by the Commanders in the second round. I had the pleasure of coaching him his first 2 years in high school before I went to the sister high school down the street at St. Petersburg Catholic. So I went from Clearwater Central Catholic to St. Pete Catholic to help. It was a family business. That's why I made the move to go down there to help my former coach at CCC. His son became Jay Davis, became the head coach at St. Pete Catholic. So I went down there to help him get some things going. And he's really got things jumping and moving there with that talent that we have back in Pinellas County. It's talent all over Pinellas County, or P County. So, but yeah, I realize there's a lot of people out there that think they know, all right, and they're doing their best to try to help. Um, I realize I see a lot of coaches and parents. Some of them had the opportunity to play at the next level. There's some that didn't. Um, doesn't mean they don't know anything, but there's a lot of stuff going on with this. I don't, I won't sit here and tell you I know every cotton picking thing about um, recruiting, um, but I know quite a bit. I think I know enough. I think I have enough good relationships that I can tap into to um, to help people understand this recruiting process. Also to help me if there's something that maybe that I missed or didn't know. Not afraid to tell you that I may not know something, but I know where to get the answer from. I know who to tap into to be sure that when I share something, I've gotten it from somebody who's an expert in it, and maybe who's probably more of an expert than me. But I do feel like I'm a subject matter expert where I've had the blessing of playing at every level. I've helped kids get recruited. I understand how to get yourselves recruited. It's you know, um, it's somewhat simple, but then again, it's not. But recruiting is recruiting, no matter what. I don't care if you're male or female. I don't care what sport you play. You know, more and more now, I realized when I was a kid, like, man, this is marketing. When I got to, um, as I got older in high school and realized some of the stuff that I was doing, I was pretty much being a marketing rep for myself. That's what I realized. And definitely when I got to college, it really started clicking. I was a business major. I got my degree in business. And so I was a marketing management major in my business degree that I received. And I got my MBA in sports management and marketing. But when I was in college, early in part of college, it really clicked to me. It's like, man, this is nothing but, marketing 101. Okay, when it comes to recruiting. You have a brand. It's always been that way. It's just that people didn't realize it. Deion Sanders was probably one of the first people that really grasped it, and understood it, and then and made it known with some of the things that he did to help himself, um, get get exposure and gain exposure, showcasing his ability and talent, and letting people know that, hey, when I'm on the field, I'm prime time, and when I'm off the field, I'm Deion Sanders. That's somebody who understood his brand, who understood the marketing potential that he had, and understood, hey, I gotta come up with a strategy. If you ever hear a story, and if you listen to him and follow him and listen to some of his stories when he was sharing, he would tell you that sometimes instead of going to parties, he would be in his room trying to think of little catchy phrases. You know, he would be trying to figure out ways how to market and promote himself. Um, so that's where his head was. But it wasn't just trying to come up with those catchy things, but also backing it up, preparation and doing it on the field, doing it in his sport, because it makes a difference. Okay, you can understand all that all you want, but you gotta pay the dividends. You gotta um, you know, give receipts to people, right? You gotta be able to back up what you're selling, right? You're a brand, you're a product, you're a talent, and there's things that people will give you for that gift and talent that you have, but you gotta hone your skills, right? You got to hone in on those skills. You got to figure out how to be, at the top of your game or one of the best, right? And so that's where people don't understand. And then you got to understand where, don't be overzealous, right? There's some people can be overzealous about their talent and their ability, or they put too much into the marketing and promoting and don't do it well in their sport because they didn't put a lot of time in like they needed to get better, right, in their craft, right, in their craft. So that's one of the things that I realized as I got older, especially like I said, when I was in high school and the things that I had to do to try to get attention, to try to get myself out in front. And one thing that you're definitely going to have to do, and you need to do it as early as possible with your young people, you got to get to these camps. Okay, you got to get to these camps. You got to get to the camps, to the colleges who give out the scholarships. I know a lot of people got camps. You got a lot of different trainers. Some of these people that know folks. Absolutely, I know folks. Okay, but even though I know folks, I would not um, uh, tell you to not get on that field or get in, or put time in and work in to make sure you're on top of your game. Because if you're gonna want me to help promote and sell you on your ability and your skill and your personality and you're reliable, all these different things, you got to help me promote you. You got to help yourself promote yourself. Okay, you got to understand this. And so, um, one of the best things to do is to get your young person out there early, right? Get them out there so they can build up their confidence, right? About matching up against other people. I have this conversation with guys all the time. How much better do you think you are compared to the talent that's out there in your position? Where do you rank yourself? And understand, when I ask people this, I make it clear we're not talking about a person's personality, if they're a good person or a bad person. That's not what we're talking about. I'm asking, where do you feel like you match up physical and skill level in your sport, in your talent compared to that person that you're competing against in that position, right? So it's okay to measure yourself up, you know, so you'll understand, hey, I got some work to do, or hey, I'm right where I need to be, okay, or hey, I'm the man, or I'm the girl, I'm the one, right? And if I am that man and I'm the one, and to stay there, you better be putting in some work. And to get there, you better be putting in some work. So just understand, when people, when I talk to you and ask you about, this whole thing about recruiting, like, hey, where do you feel you match up, right? What kind of work have you been putting in, right? I'm not comparing you to this person to see if you're a better person than them, right? That's not what we're talking about. Better person as character and all that other stuff. No, we're talking about, skill level. Where do you match up at your position and with these other folks out here that are getting a lot of the attention, right? And politics come into play. I'll share a story with you, short story with you. I'll try to make it short. Like, I remember growing up, I felt like I was being slighted. This is little league football, right? Because it's politics everywhere. And you understand that. And we got to help teach our kids that and be honest with them and be forthright and teach them how to work through it. And my father was that type of person. He's like, look, hey, I don't coach that coach's team. You need to go over there and talk to that coach. Your dad is here, right? I'm here to support you, but this is what you need to go do to help that coach understand how you feel, learn how to speak up for yourself. And I remember that moment. It was one of the scariest moments in my life as a young kid. I think I was probably in like sixth grade or something, fifth or sixth grade, and I wasn't happy with um, how the coach was not playing me at my running back position. He wanted me to play receiver because my brother played receiver for him. And I'm like, no, I'm not a receiver. I'm a running back. Um, and I, stood on that. Right. I stood on business on that, and I showed it. And usually, when in little league, as you move up, as you graduate and go up to the next level, each level, where you get older and the talent gets better, right? Um, you usually stay in that same position that you start out in most cases. But like I said, in this situation, because my brother played wide receiver for this coach, he wanted me to play wide receiver. And I'm like, no, man, I ain't, I was ready to quit. My dad's like, no, we don't quit. You need to go over there and just have a conversation. So I went over and had the conversation with the coach. And, I told him, hey, look, I don't want to play for you because, I'm not my brother. I'm a running back. I know my brother played receiver for you. I don't think it's fair, because he had some people already pegged on who he thought. And I knew I was better than or just as good as. Okay. And I believe I showed it when I had opportunity. And so it came down to the coach appreciated me coming over talking and just made it a deal with me and said, hey, if you play receiver for me, I'll give you opportunity to play some running back this year. But next season, because I had to go back on this particular coach, I had to play for him like 2 years because of my age. And so he was like, "Hey, next year I'll make sure I give you a better look at running back." And and I was like, "Okay, no problem." And I did that year, that first year with him, and then that next year, he kept his word, right? He gave me my opportunity, and we had really good teams both those years I played. But that second year, we had a much better team, and it was me and another one of my partners who were the starting running backs, and we balled out, you know, and he made the comment, "Man, I should have listened to you and let you play running back the year before. Maybe we would have had a better year." I'm like, "Yeah, but I appreciated him keeping his word. You know, every coach don't always do that, but we have to teach our young kids at a young age how to deal with some adversity, how to deal with the struggle, right? How to work through a struggle. Okay. And that all goes with recruiting. Because I'm telling you, there are guys that I went to college with that left the school because a lot of different things and they probably weren't prepared for because they didn't get it when they were at a younger age for whatever reason. And maybe they did get some. Maybe they just didn't know how to, work through it. But a lot of times you can tell, how some people grew up that maybe they were always that guy, right, or that girl, always was given to them. They were always the one that was on the positive side of the politics. But then when they got to college and wasn't getting that type of same love, and they really had to work for it, some of them couldn't handle it because now you're somewhere where there's people that's just as good, if not better than you, and maybe you could be just as good, if not better than them, or maintain that level, but you didn't put the work in because it was always handed to you. And we have to be careful about that. And parents, you got to be careful about that. I don't want anything ever handed to my boys when I coach them and play with them, or play when they played for me, right? I wanted them to earn it, just like my father did, with me. That's how he taught us. So that's the little story that I want to share with you, and that's why I say it's so important. And I wish I would have known. We didn't have all these things today. I mean, back then, like we have today, all these camps and things that they have to help kids. That's why I think the kids are much more physically able because of us fathers who went through some things and had the blessing of playing. Some of us who had the blessing of playing at high school and college. Everybody don't get a chance to have the opportunity to play at pro because it's hard to get in that space. I was blessed and thankful to be able to get through that, but I worked through some adversity. But because of the things that um, prior to prepared me to go through the struggle to get my opportunity to get to the NFL, right, into Arena Football League and CFL and other opportunities that I was afforded to have because of that fight that I had in me that my father put in me, right? Because my father always said one of the things I'll tell you, my father used to always say to me when we're dealing with the politics, because you're gonna have to deal with politics. And I say this to my son, even playing now in the NFL, right? But I've always said this to him, like my father said to me, because there are politics a lot of times, and you may be on that back end of those politics, knowing that you're just as good, if not better, than somebody that may have even gotten drafted. And I know that for a fact because I was in the league. I'm out here practicing with guys. And if anybody knows, ball players know. When we're out there on that football field, that court, or whatever sport it is, especially that team sport, you know if a cat can ball. And when guys giving you props, like, dang, bro, you know what? Where'd you go to school? I've never even heard that. How did you end up there? Like, how would you not go such and such, right? And that's why I said I've been called to do this because of what I've been through. And I know that's what my faith is. I put my faith and trust in God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I know God had me go through what I went through to be able to talk about what I'm talking about today and share so that others don't get caught up in that or how to deal with the adversity or the politics. But my father used to say to us, you work and train hard for your opportunity and don't ever let another man because of the politics or because of whatever they got going on because they're a bad coach. And I've said it many times. There's a lot of people who shouldn't be coaches because they're too caught up in the politics or they don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of different reasons, right? Or they're not totally invested in their kids. It's all about them. Okay. And that's male or female coaches, right? We have those issues. It is what it is. It's life, right? But one thing my dad used to always tell us, you prepare for your opportunity. Because because you're going to get eventually you're going to get an opportunity. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's not going to be doing well, right? Something's going to happen. I don't care. Somebody's shoe might come off, and you have to go in. And it just so happens that your number might get called. And my father used to give us these scenarios, but you got to be ready. You can't be sitting up pouting because when your opportunity comes, and if you're back there pouting, you won't be ready for the moment when it comes that came to you, to show folks what you're all about, to show folks what you're capable of. So that's how I was as a coach when I used to have to get on my kids like, hey man, when my players would make a mistake, I'd be like, hey, it's okay. We got to learn from the mistake. If you keep sitting here pouting, you're not going to learn from the mistake. I need you to learn from the mistake because you're going to get an opportunity to go back in and make a play to make up for that bad play that you just made. An opportunity is going to come, whether it's this week, next week, 2 weeks down the road, where it's really going to matter. And if you still stuck back there at that mistake, you're not going to be ready for your moment. So my father used to always preach to us, you know, just like when I dealt with that situation with that coach. But my father used to always preach to us, man, like, hey, sometimes you may not be recognized, but make sure you leave no doubt in people's mind that when they go back and look, they're gonna say, that kid, right, that young lady, that young man showed us what they're made of, right? And you have to start that stuff early in our young athletes. They got to learn how to deal with some struggle. They got to learn how to deal with some adversity. Because later in life, when things may still be wacky sometimes, because you got some people coaching, it's just like I said, it's the world we live in. Everybody shouldn't be coaches. Plain and simple. That's just fact. That's just truth. So we have to prepare them early. You have to get them in camps early, right? You got to help them build up their confidence. That young lady, that young man, that young boy, that young girl. You got to let them go up against some competition that's better than them at that moment because maybe they haven't been putting in work. We know they have the potential to be like this other little kid that we see out here, or with this other little boy, their age, or little girl, And some kids are late bloomers, and that's okay. My youngest son was a late bloomer, but boy, when he got past, because he was growing so fast, that he was the youngest, but he was growing so fast, right? But when he caught up with his growth spurt and got on that baseball field, I mean, I remember his coaches in Little League, my youngest son, Zachary, his Little League coach is like, man, he's like night and day. What happened? I said, well, he went through that growth spurt coaching, the, his doctor said we might need to take him out of playing sports that year because his knees were achy because he was just, I mean, he's the tallest one in our family. And so he was just going through a period at a young age in elementary school. I mean, he was tall. He was probably, I'm only 5'9.5". I'm just, a little over 5'9.5", just shy of 5'10". And this kid coming out of elementary school, about look at me eye to eye, coming out of elementary school. So he went through a major growth spurt. So when he got through that growth spurt and got back out there on that baseball field, the way he was hitting the ball, how he was, I mean, snatching stuff out of the air, hitting doubles and triples and home runs. I mean, when he was going through that growth spurt, man, he could barely hit the ball out of the infield. It was bothering him just that much. So some kids are late bloomers, right? But like I said, once he caught up with it, man, a year later, I mean, it was like, wow, this boy can play. Okay, he's pretty doggone good at this baseball. Um, and so that's what happens. So you have things like that that happen. So that's why, I ask, what do you know about recruiting? All this stuff plays a factor in what you know about recruiting. And we have some parents who never played college sports or played high school sports or played a little bit, but didn't go through any recruiting process and don't know, right? Or some people I know that I grew up with, man, it just happened when the coach, a college coach just showed up and the high school coach said, "Oh yeah, I got a kid over here I think might be pretty good at you should look at," and got a scholarship, was blessed to be able to get a scholarship. And that's not like the normal process for a lot of kids to go through recruiting. That's the unusual things. But I don't want to say normal, but the more frequent way of recruiting is you got to put in that work, right? You got to market yourself. You got to understand that you have a gift and a talent that people will give you money for, a scholarship to help pay for your education. And like I said, nothing's free, right? Nothing's free at all. Um, you earn that scholarship. You earn your opportunity, you know. But I just remember my father is always saying, be prepared and ready for that moment, man, because it's going to come. That moment is going to come, and if you prepared yourself, right? Like my father would tell me, I don't care if you carry the ball one time, make it worth your while. If you carry the ball one time, what are you gonna do? I mean, my father literally say, hey, if you carry the ball one time, make it or run a touchdown. Don't sit up here and pout, but man, I should have got the ball this many times. No, my dad was like, no, I don't want to hear that. I don't care if you carry the ball one time, three times. Show them what you are about. All right, do something special. Be prepared. And there were times, literally, once I got it, once I understood what he was saying at a young age, he would just preach that to us. Like, man, I don't want to hear. I know things not gonna always be fair. I mean, he break that down to us. And my mom too, but my dad just when it came, not just through sports, my dad would just say, look, man, life, man, is not gonna give you grapes, give you strawberries or give you oranges or whatever the case may be. Right? He's like, man, you're gonna have to till that ground. You're gonna have to really till that ground and put some work in. He just like, so you carry that ball one time, man, you show these folks out here what it, what they're gonna get. And when I got it, as a young kid, he was just putting it in our heads, man, and it stuck with me like you hear me talking now, like it was yesterday, right? And so hey, I also want to mention, I don't want to fail to mention, if you got something you want to put in the chat, feel free to drop something in the chat and I'll try to answer it, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I'm live on Instagram, YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Love the Game 24_7, as well as Facebook and IG, Love the Game 24_7. And be sure to get to all my social media platforms on my link tree, Love the Game 24_7 with link tree. But yeah, so I appreciate, those things, those moments, man, that I remember and that I coached myself, kids that I coached because of what I was taught by my father and other um, coaches that I had in my life. But I just remember my father telling me that, and man, when I got it, there were games where I may have carried the ball, one time and scored, or had a big run that set the team up to win or something, and I remember, man, my dad would just be cheesing and smiling, and he would like, "Hey, brother, that's what I'm talking." And he would, I appreciate, he would tell, that's what I'm talking about. That's what you got to do, right? You won't have time to be wasting talking about what you're not getting. What you gonna do when you get the opportunity? So that's my question about when it comes to this. Like, what do you know about athletic recruiting? It starts at a young age, just like it did for me back then. And man, when I had to deal with a difficult high school coach who wasn't helping, I had to figure that stuff out because I didn't have my father around. And he used to say, "Hey, I may not always be around." You know, so I don't say that anymore. I just say, "Hey, um, if I may not be around, I may be on vacation somewhere when I say it." But I knew what he meant by, hey, that pops may not always be around, man. What you gonna do? Right? You got to remember these conversations that I'm having with you all. Pass it on, to your kids, right? Or those who you're helping. And so that's how my dad would talk to all of us, when he coached us in little league. But definitely he had that conversation with me and my brothers, like, man, especially when I was whining and crying about, hey man, I know I'm good, I'll show 'em, blah blah. I'd be pouting and carrying on. My dad be like, man, I don't want to hear that. Show me what you all about when you get that ball that one time. That's all. Show me what you can do. Show them what you can do. Leave no doubt in anybody's mind, right? And it was times when I did that, and coaches are like, "Oh, we got to get the little Smith kid in there, man, and run the ball a little more the way he do." And there were games where I was the only one that scored. I remember that in some games that I played, I scored 2 or 3 touchdowns in a game. Bouncing off tackles, smallest thing out there, right? But that toughness that my father instilled in me, that toughness that I had teammates helped instill in me and other coaches, you know, that I had, and my brothers, um, those opportunities. But definitely my father, and then taking that on and realizing that, yeah, I got a talent, man. I can do something with this, right? And so you gotta love the game 24/7. You gotta be willing to um, get yourself in shape. Don't overdo things. There's a balance, okay? And parents, you gotta be balanced, right? You gotta understand. Sometimes your kid is pouting about something. Go to practice and see what your son is doing, what your daughter is doing, right? A lot of times, we coaches constantly have to get on kids, trying to motivate them, and we shouldn't have to do that. If they love the game and they know they're all that, and some kids they do have the ability, they do have that potential to be all that. But if you got to fight with them to get stuff done when they're at practice, or to listen, or to be focused, right? Get their mind off other stuff that don't pertain to what they need to be doing at that moment when we're at practice and whatever sport they're playing, whether they male or female, right? You got time to think about them boys later, young lady. You got time to think about them girls later, young man. All right, you know, get things done that's gonna pay you some dividends. That's what you need to be focused on more than anything, because you got time for all that other stuff. Trust me, you're gonna have time for all that. But parents, you got to be realistic, right? It ain't always about giving our kids everything. It's not always about giving them every type of gear of this and that. Yeah, it's okay to do that. Let them help them earn. Teach them to earn some of that. Teach them, hey, get your grades. Do what you need to do. My son used to love that PlayStation stuff, and it was a good teaching tool as well. I do have to say, the way those PlayStation games and things evolved, it was a good teacher, but it was also fun too. So I would tell my son, hey, you got to focus on getting your classwork. So we're not pulling that thing out, man, Monday through Thursday. You ain't seeing it, right? No, we ain't having it. That was the rule in our house. We ain't having it. I don't want them not to have it, have fun. But it was like, hey, Monday through Thursday, man, we focus on getting stuff done. You got practice, you got your work, you got school work you got to get done. We don't have time for PlayStation. Now, when Friday roll around and we're done, hey, Friday, Saturday, a little bit on Sunday, but at a certain time on Sunday, we shut it down, because now you got to get back focused on getting ready to go back to school on Monday morning and getting back focused. So as parents, as coaches, man, you got to help teach these things. You got to help them understand priorities, prioritization. You do need to have moments of relaxing and pulling back from your sport, from working out so much and studying so much, and sometimes it can help your studies. There were times we started, as our kids got older, we loosened up some of those things as they matured and grew up, um, and always had their grades intact. And hey, they're gonna be going off to college soon, so they're gonna be able to do whatever they want to do when they're in that college dorm. But you got to teach them something early now, so that they'll take something with them, because the foundation that they had was, hey, this is priority, right? I can't have my grades slipping, because if my grades slipping, I can't show my gift of talent on my sport, because there's rules to this thing. And so we know there's rules to this thing. We got to start these rules early, but we also got to help build their confidence up. That's why it's good. Like I said, during the summer, you get your student athlete, your young athlete into the camps, right? Get your athletes in the camps, get them around some of this other good talent that's out there at their age limit, right? You got to do those things. Sometimes you got to trust and send them away with a group of people that you vetted and they're good and they're going to take care of your young person, right? and they're not going to be up to the stuff they ain't supposed to be up to. So that's why you vet and you check them out, and you don't pull no punches, and let folks know nothing better not happen to my child. Nobody better not touch my child wrong. Make sure you got enough people. Hey, some parents you might need to volunteer and be a chaperone, because I know I would have been. I wouldn't have been sending mine alone. That's for sure. Okay, or if I knew somebody like one of my homeboys or homegirls that I knew that was had a kid playing as well, that I trust and knew was going that's just as um, adamant about that as I am, right? On top of stuff just like I am, and I trust them that they're gonna watch over my kid, and I watch over theirs if it was me, going with their kid. So that's why it's important, because when kids may have to go away from home, trust me, I've had even some of my own family members. I tell you right now, being transparent, had opportunities and couldn't handle it because they weren't prepared at a young age to go off and go home and to stick it out. And like I said, I've had many guys that I played college ball with that I'm sitting there wondering, like, man, I couldn't believe they were willing to walk away, for a girlfriend back home, or they just for whatever reason couldn't handle being that far away from home. Okay. And I didn't really have a chance to go anywhere, but I think because of what my father and mom instilled in us, like, hey, dad used to tell us growing up, yeah, you guys need to be prepared, man, to go off somewhere and go to college or go, his first thing was always college. And then it's like, hey, if that don't work out, hey, you can go to the service. But you at least need to take opportunity to be good at a sport and get you a scholarship and go off somewhere, go away from home. And I know it was tough on me, leaving my mom by herself and going away to college, and both me and my brother away. And now my mom is home by herself. I mean, I had older sisters, but still, my mom was living by herself and whatnot. Um, so it was tough. Um, and I wasn't totally prepared, but there was conversations. But I knew after my father passed away from cancer and whatnot, my brother went off. My two older brothers were away. I'm like, man, I got to be able to, do like my older brothers, man. I got to be able to go make things happen for myself, right? So I had two older brothers that was already being an example. One brother on a track scholarship at Liberty Baptist University, which is now Liberty University. My big brother Pat, and then my brother Todd. He went to Morningside College before me under Coach Lovett, Jim Lovett, recruiting. Um, and so, it was like, hey, I got to do my part, you know, and of course, my mom was happy that I was going somewhere where I had one of my older brothers. Um, but it was tough. Still, you got to teach your kids. Everybody's gonna get homesick. I don't care if you do prepare them; they're still gonna get homesick. That's just natural. I don't care if you male or female. That's just a natural part of growing up and maturing, right? But you still got to give them some sort of foundation. You're a young athlete, some sort of foundation now at middle school age, right? And even early high school age, before they get to going out, leaving your house in their junior or senior, and you never prepared them by allowing them to go off somewhere and go to a camp and do some things and teaching them, hey, it's good to leave home. You can always come back, right? But it's good to go get some culture and go to another part of the country, another part of the world, right? And grow up with and build some strong relationships with some teammates. Okay. But it's very important that we start this thing early, and it's going to build that young athlete, that young boy, that young girl's confidence up in being successful and wanting to put work in and be successful in their gift and talent in their sport or sports. Okay. So that's what you need to know about recruiting. Okay. It's more than all this social media and followings and likes and all that. All that stuff, hey, it's great, right? And it may pay you some dividends down the road, but that can't be your sole focus in thinking that's what's going to get you some success in your sport. And no, you got in whatever your gift or talent is, if in that sport, that's what you need to be honing your skills in to at least pay for your education. It may not get you to the pro level, okay? It may give you an opportunity, it may not. Okay. But now with NIL, name, image, and likeness opportunities, with the transfer portal, that's another reason why we see the transfer portal the way it is. Because there's a lot of kids who were not prepared to go away from home or to deal with adversity. So they struggle. right? There's some coaches out there that don't shouldn't be coaches is putting, you know, pressure and stress on some kids because they weren't prepared, right? When they were younger, they weren't put in situations that while they were home close to you that you could walk them through and teach them. Okay, there's some people doing that. There are. Not saying it's not any, but I know in a lot of cases, I coached a lot of young. I coached for 12, 13 years in Florida. I know what I'm talking about. Um, and you see it. And then when you talk to other people from other parts of the country and they say some of the same things that I'm telling you, right, with kids and how they in dealing with kids as they coach kids in in different sports, right? Hey, we're human. So we do a lot of the same things. There are a lot of people who are doing their best. They're doing the best that they know how. And that's why I love the Game 24/7 podcast is coming to you like I am, trying to be sure that you understand. That's why I say if you want to partner with us, come on board and partner with us. Because this is what it's all about. Trying to help parents, inform parents and young athletes how to navigate through this recruiting process, how to be successful in this recruiting process. Sometimes it may make sense for you to transfer. Just because you have to transfer don't mean you're weak or that's not always the case. Sometimes it's a legitimate reason that you need to transfer. Sometimes it's because that program wasn't a program maybe you should have gone to, and you got to step back. And sometimes that's the case. But sometimes you might jump too quick, right? Sometimes that might be the case. You can't, get some people that know that's been there and done that. Get some people that have experience, not knowledge, not theory, experience, life experience, and and going through some of those same tough struggles. Okay, because sometimes you might need to stay where you are and work through it. It just depends. Okay. But like I said, some parents, at the high school level, they're complaining about their kid, this and that, and it may be, hey, is your kid doing what they need to do when they're in practice? Do they understand and know their plays? They may be a great talent physically, right? But can they remember their plays? Are they focused on what they need to do? Are they just out there just messing around? Okay, so sometimes you might need to be at practice and just watch and just be off in the cut somewhere, and your athlete don't even know you out there watching them. And then that way you can talk to them when they get home and say, hey, look, this is what I saw. I understand now why the coach have some issues with you. You out there talking back, coach trying to explain some things, but the coach is going over a play, and you're off somewhere or you're talking when the coach is talking. No, you can't learn stuff, right? You can't complain because a lot of times that's the situation. Sometimes a young man and a young lady is not listening, not focused, right? So we got to get this stuff out of them. We got to get this stuff taught, and we got to train them at a young and early age. So when they do go off somewhere, right, they have the tools, right, mentally, physically, spiritually, on how to work through some tough situations. Okay, so get your young athlete into some camps, get them out there and let them see how they match up against another kid their age in their sport, so they can see and measure themselves. Like I said, we're not talking about on whether somebody's a good person or a bad person. We're talking about just their ability in their sport, and you need to know where you match up and what work you're going to need to do to allow yourself to get um, take advantage of your gift and talent and getting yourself a scholarship to pay for your education. That's very important. That's a key thing that people need to get a hold of. And we see too much nonsense and stuff going on. I hear Coach Derek Tatum saying it all the time with his 7-on-7, how that's, instead of kids out there really trying to learn, it's, of course you love the competition. You want the competition, right? And we want to keep it there, competitive where we're all learning together. All right. And it's okay to talk a little bit of trash. I mean, that's part of it. Okay. It's okay to talk a little bit of trash here and there, but you better be backing it up. You better be putting in work. Okay. And like I said, some of you kids, before you go to these camps, you need to do some things to prepare yourself. So when you go to these camps, you catch someone's attention. If you don't work on some of these drills in your sport that you need to work on before you go to these camps, because they're going to test you guys out on this stuff. They're going to be rating guys at their camps, right? Who caught their attention. And you want to be sure that you catch people's attention. It can't be this, oh, I got nervous. You know, my buddy who's an agent, Um, Sometimes he's had guys, they want to have this training paid. They want to go somewhere and get their training paid for because hey, I need to get some work on my 40 time this. Hey, either you got it or you don't. You're not all of a sudden gonna get fast if you've never been fast. Now I do know there's a lot of people who don't know how to start. Like for football, when it comes to running that 40-yard dash, there's a lot of people who don't know how to run that 40, and they could be decent speed. They can be some pretty good speed. Now those guys who just flat out fast, it don't matter. They just flat out fast. They're gonna run a good time no matter what, whether they got a bad start or a good start. Because you just got some guys that just hey, they're fast, right? But there's some other ones that they got pretty good speed, but they really need to know how to jump out of there and get a good start. Okay, it's no different in track competition. You better be able to come out of those blocks, right? You know, so you got to know how to help yourself. It's you against the clock when you're testing out in those things. You against the clock. So just simple things that you gotta do and you gotta work at and start that at a young age. So and get some good coaching and get your young person in a good program that's going to help train them, in the academic part that they need to get down, as well as in their sport, what they need to get down. But you can't go. I would advise you do not go and show up at these camps if you haven't spent some time going through these things and testing out yourselves prior to. Get these things down because you want to be sure that hey, you catch someone's attention when you step up on that camp and on that campus. You not just the coaches, even your peers. You want them to be able to like, oh boy, hey, look here, he the real deal, right? Oh man, he compete. So that's you want guys that ooh and ah. You ain't got to say nothing. Just handle your business, right? Let your play, let your skill set, let your hard work speak for it. Speak for you. But if we don't get our young people in a young age, like I am right now, I'm working with a young man here locally that's partnered up with me, and I definitely know he can play at the next level. And so I get with him on a weekly basis, and I'll be getting with him again this weekend. We talked yesterday, and I'll be getting with him on Sunday, giving him a workout program that he needs to follow that's going to show he's going to be able to pass that eye test when recruiters come look. He's going to put that work into something. I'm going to give him the work, and the method he needs to go by, the plan that he needs to go by and use. So his parents bought into the Love the Game 24/7 platform and program. He's partnered with him. I'm going to make sure he get the results. And he's already starting to get some attention. He's gotten his letters out there. He's doing all these different things that I'm teaching him about what he needs to do in marketing and getting himself some exposure. He's going to be going to some camps. We're going to be getting together and showing him some things he needs to work on, some drills and different things I'm going to show him that he needs to work on. I'm going to go out there and put eyes on him and see what he's looking like myself before he gets to these camps to be sure that he shows he's a tight end, be sure he shows what he's made of. Good sized kid, great sized kid. Watched some of his film, caught my attention. Great hands, great blocker. He just needs to be taught how to get himself some exposure. And that's what I'm working with him on, how to do that. So that's why I put out there, what do you know about athletic recruiting? Because a lot of people think they know and they don't, right? Or they know a little bit of something, but don't know enough. Or they don't know how to navigate or strategize through this game of recruiting and how to get their athletes some attention, right? It just can't be social media, man. You have to be able to show that you can play your sport at a high level consistently, right? Got to be consistent. We can't have this sometimey stuff, right? You can't want everything and not put in the work. You got to earn it, man. That's you know. Hey, when it comes to being like a Christian, like I am, you can't earn it. Somebody already did that for us, right? But you have your part, to do. I have my part to do, right? And that's what definitely why I feel I'm in my zone. I'm where I'm supposed to be right now in helping encouraging others and parents on how to do this, how to be sure that how to help their young athlete to ensure that they get themselves an education and use their gifts and abilities in their sport, along with having some strong academics to be able to keep their money in their pocket because they invested in their child through Love the Game 24/7 platform and program. They partnered up, right? They partnered up with some other people, a trainer or somebody, or another trainer in their specific position. Like I said, I've done when my son was a quarterback. I found a quarterback coach, did that for years, and it was a blessing. It turned out great, right? Got that scholarship. You're talking $70,000 to $80,000 a year for the 3.5 years that he was in college, right? That's a lot of money that most of us don't have. But you got a gift, you got a talent, you got an ability. Use it. Learn how to use that to help you, right? To help you in life as far as it can take you. Use it as far as it can take you. Don't squander. Don't squander your blessing. Don't squander your gift and your talent. Don't come up with excuses. Don't tell me about some girl. Don't tell me about some boy. And you walk away from your blessing. You don't have time for nonsense. You don't have time for foolishness. And parents, you know, we can't expect them and tell our young person that we need them to do such and such, but we're not being a good example of it. I never wanted my kids for me to hold them accountable about something that I tell them that they need to do, and they're not being able to see it in me or my wife showing them and being an example and getting up, going to work on time and doing the things that we need to do to keep our jobs, to be able to feed my family and different things like that. So you got to be an example, right? Same thing with coaches. We can't tell our kids, "Oh, have some integrity for the program," but you're not helping them get scholarships. You're not giving them a strategy. Parents, you got to have a. I had a plan for my kids on what on how they're going to get paid for their education. I had a plan, right? Man, just like that scripture says, that where God said He knew us before we were in the womb of our mother, of our parents. Man, look at it. Before my kid was in the womb, I took that to heart. I took that scripture to heart. God said He knew us well before we were even born in our mother's womb. He knew us. He had plans for us. Now, once my kids got in the womb, I wasn't like God. But once my kids were in the womb of my wife, look, I had plans, and I give all honor and glory to God for allowing my plans to work out that He gave me for my kids, for my people, young people. And so, parents, you got to do that same thing for your young people. You got to have a plan, and if you don't know everything, you got to get connected with some folks who know that can help you. Don't take that lightly, right? Coaches, stop asking your kids, your athletes, you male and female coaches out there, stop asking your kids to show to have integrity for the program, and you're not showing that you have integrity. You got politics and crap flying all over the place, showing favoritism. You're telling them one thing about working for their opportunity, but then you're not totally being fair about giving them their opportunity. That's not that's not good either. You're sending mixed messages, and that's why some kids don't have respect for some coaches, or why they transferring, because they hear a lot of mess a lot of times, or they see a lot of mess. And let's just tell it like it is. That's what it is. You see a lot of nonsense out there. Don't sit here and ask these athletes to do certain things, and then you're not reciprocating that same thing. I used to tell my athletes when they would get disrespectful, I would tell them, "Hold up. Has Coach Smith ever been disrespectful to you? Have I ever cussed you out left and right or went off on you? Even with even if you did something wrong, have I ever treated you a certain way? Because I carried myself a certain way, right? I was a different kind of coach. You know, I think you need to have all types of coaches, but we all got to be fair, no matter what. And so I would be able to tell kids, hey, because I'm telling you to be respectful, I'm gonna first show you respect. That's what I always preach, and that's how I always was with my athletes. They always could say Coach Smith was very respectful to them first, initially, even when they were being disrespectful. I could always hold them and say, "Tell me, have I ever been disrespectful to you?" And because they could never say I was disrespectful, I was able to get them to. start being respectful and tell them like, hey, and sometimes I say, look, when you ready to talk, right now I know you kind of heated up, go over there and have a seat. And when you calm down and you come to your senses, then hey, me and you can have a conversation. I'm all right with that. Because some of these kids are dealing with a lot of things, and I realize that there's some tough things going on at home. There's a lot of things going at home, with kids. Even when we were growing up, there were things going on. We just hear about it more now because we got social media. We didn't always hear about that kind of stuff growing up during my time because we didn't have social media. You had the gossiping going on, of course, um, and that stuff would happen. But still, you didn't always get the full story, and you still don't. Even when you get social media, you still don't always get the full story. A lot of that still hasn't changed, right? But the point is, we can't be sitting here telling our young athletes to be this type of way, to be this or be that, and we're not giving them the good example. All that has to do with recruiting. All that has to, that's why you need to try to put yourself in a position, young athletes, to get yourselves exposed, get yourselves some opportunities to be able to take your visits to those schools, whether it's at the Division 1 or Division 2 level. Division 2 gives, you can take trips too, right? You can take your official visits to them as well and be able to get around the atmosphere and listen to what some of the guys are saying. Now, even though some guys might complain, you got to be able to determine, okay, do I like this atmosphere or not? Is this somewhere I want to be? Right. So when I took my visit or when I went to camp, right, and got to talk to some of the players and meet some of the players, you can tell a lot about a program if a lot of the kids are staying back and not going home for the whole summer and they're back helping out at the camp. So when you got schools that a lot of the kids are staying back in their sport helping out for the camps, that speaks volumes. That does speak volumes because that means those folks want to be there. They enjoy and they feel comfortable with not being at home at this moment because they have a bond with their teammates and even with their coaches. And they're working at camps and they're helping out and they're telling you some facts. They're telling you, hey, everything ain't gravy, everything ain't easy around here. You're gonna have to work, right? You got to do your part. You got to carry your weight. Coaches aren't gonna put up with foolishness. Just because coaches aren't putting up with foolishness doesn't mean they're a bad coach. Okay, they're just not gonna put up with the foolishness. They want you focused. They got to feed their family, right? They got to eat, right? And so if you got a program where they're trying to make sure everybody's eating from the coaches to the players, that's where you want to be. So that's why you got to take some time in this recruiting, to get yourselves those opportunities. But you got to put in the work. You got to give some results. You got to show us. It just can't be taught. It just can't be some little one-time highlight or a few highlights here and there. But then you disappear, right? You can't be that, right? You got to show up even when you're not the man making the play or you're not the girl making the play. But did you have a hand in helping somebody else look good on your team? That's important too. I man prided myself on making a block for my teammate, my other running back, Johnny Brown, who I played college ball with, who grew up with Deion Sanders down in North Fort Myers. He's been living in Colorado for years before Deion got out there. Me and him used to compete against each other about who threw the best block when we would score a touchdown. I mean, we literally be like argument. No, go watch the film, man. You watch that. Look at that block I threw for you. Me and I, no, oh, I don't want to help break you loose because I threw that block. We would literally be, not just scoring touchdowns about who had the nicest run, but it was also, man, we'd be like who had the best block and springing somebody loose. That's that love for the game 24/7, man. When you can sit here and say, hey, when I ain't scoring a touchdown, I'm helping somebody else score a touchdown on my team. I made sure knew my assignment, right? Knew my assignment and will hold my teammates accountable to know their assignment and be saying like, hey man, look, I just threw you a block for 80 yards. Now hey, I know I can take this one. Make sure you get your block in. I mean, we would literally have arguments about that. And that's healthy argument. Like, bro, hey, or if we missed a block, oh dog, I missed that one, man. Hey, he got it. He beat me on that one. And it ain't gonna happen next time. I know what to look for next time we run that play, you know. And so that kind of stuff, right? So that's what you need to know about recruiting, about what it means, athletic recruiting. All these things pertain, but you as an athlete, you got to do your part, man. You, young lady, young man, young boy, young girl, right? And parents, you got to be realistic, okay? If they got some work they need to do, hey, be honest with them. Tell them they got some work to do. You know, you always side with your kid, but you can't never not side with the coaches, right? You got to hold your kids accountable. You got to hold your young athlete accountable, right? The coach is right, in most cases, all right? Even if it's a bad coach, they're right sometimes. They are. It's just reality. But like I said, coaches, get it together. Don't be holding your student athlete or holding your young athletes accountable for stuff, and you're not a person of integrity yourself. Be a person of integrity. Don't let your athlete be able to call you out on something, and don't get mad if they do call you out on something, because if it's true, fix it. Admit it, fix it, work it out. But you're in a very important position to um to help these young people as coaches, from high school, from little league to high school to college. And athletes, you got to understand, the competition gets closer and closer. Yeah, when you were in little league, you were able to kill it, right? And then them kids in little league caught up with you when they got to high school. In a lot of instances, you still may have stood out, but the competition in that game has gotten better, has gotten closer. And definitely when you go to college, it gets even closer. You still can have somewhat of an advantage, not totally like high school, right? But you can still have somewhat of an advantage. Sometimes you can slip by with not doing certain things, but it ain't gonna bode well when you're trying to go to that pro level, and you might have a potential opportunity to do that. Because when you get to the pro level, everybody is good. Everybody trying to eat, right? Now, NIL, name, image, and likeness, is going to help some of that in college. I don't doubt it, right? It may help. It's going to help coaches have to recruit better talent. We just can't have, mediocre guys hanging around as much as we did in the past. We got to cut that. We got to cut that ratio down, right? Our third and fourth string might be guys that could go start somewhere else if I'm a good recruiter and I'm taking care of them and I'm giving them some opportunity. That's what it's coming to. And there's ways to be sure that ratio of talent level and experience. Like I said, it gets closer and closer, and very close at the pro level. Very close. Everybody is good. Everybody wants to make millions and feed their family. So that's what this discussion is. Where I missed recording it the last time I was live. Uh, I'll be live. I missed being live Saturday, because this past Saturday, because something came up. But I will be live this Saturday. Um, it may be it's either going to be 11:30 or 12:30. I got to get on the golf course and start doing some work on the golf course. Um, but yeah, definitely it's gonna. I'll be live this Saturday. But I just want to be sure that I didn't lose that opportunity of folks to hear um, um, the message that I shared last time about talking about what do you know about athletic recruiting, because it didn't get recorded. The voice, it got recorded, but the voice didn't record. So I'm hoping it does right this time around. So um, I'll be putting some shorts and different things out there as well. But I just want to be sure that I got that in, because I think it's very important, because now it's summertime and you kids need to get to camps. It's important. It's all about helping your growth process, your development. Okay. And you got to learn how to deal with some adversity. You got to learn how to deal with um, putting in work and dealing with, hey, there's somebody across there that's just as good, if not better than you, that's putting that work in. Okay. And you better be putting your work in. Right. But the problem is, some of these kids have been eating since they've been little jits. That's what we call it, since they've been little jits. And it's not being realistic. Okay. Because maybe they just caught on at a young age, at a very young age, compared to some of their peers, and now their peers have caught up with them. And definitely when they get to college and you're at the Division 1 level, hey, that competition is tight. Your guys eating, trying to get, killing it, trying to get on that field. It's not all about that 5-star stuff. I mean, Yes, it is in some instances. They still know about that. But are you going to show, are you going to put in 5-star mentality? Are you going to put in 5-star preparation? Are you going to put in 5-star consistent play on the field? That's what you have to understand. It has to be consistent. It has to show up every snap. And you have to prepare yourself to show up every snap. Okay? It can't be this flash highlight moment here and there kind of stuff. No, 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 no. No. Well, I hope this help you guys understand some things. Once again, whether you're hearing this live or the recording, please follow on IG and like. Be sure that you subscribe on my YouTube channel, Love the Game 24_7. On Facebook, same thing on my TikTok. Get out there and see some of my shorts on TikTok, Love the Game 24_7. Hey, let's spread the word out there about what Coach Smith is doing on this podcast. I'm going to be coming up with some guests, some interviews going to be happening this month. So I'm hoping to get that rolled out here in the next week or so with some interviews. And because I don't want it just to be me, I'm taking this thing to another level. I want to get more and more information out there to you guys, from compliance concerns, from people's recruiting experience in other sports, male and female. So I'm gonna be getting this thing done. I'm excited about that and what's coming this summer. And I hope you guys have a great summer, and that you have a successful summer, safe summer. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Okay. You can reach out to Coach Smith at lovethe247game@gmail.com. If you want to partner up, you parents and you young athletes out there, get with your parents. You can partner up. I'm all about helping you guys, shorten your learning curve, right? I want you to shorten your learning curve. There's some things you don't have to experience and go through. Partner up with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7. Right? There's some things you don't have to go through. There's some things you need to go through. There's some things you need to be taught about how to deal with adversity and persevere. Some of you guys know some of that already in some respects, and you need to learn how to transfer that same experience into, life decisions. Okay? You need somebody to mentor you and help, somebody you can go to and talk to, right? Somebody to lead you and guide you who's been there, and also got a child that I've, playing pro ball going on year 6 this season. Okay. So I do think I know something about what I'm talking about. You feel me? Okay. All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you joining me. Come on. Help me grow my podcast. Join up, subscribe, man, to Coach Smith. Let's get this thing going. Let's get this thing out here more and more, helping you young athletes. I don't care where you are in the country. Right? I don't care if you're in Utah, Wyoming, Vermont, Vegas, doesn't matter. Nevada, I don't care. Let's get the word out and get some of you guys through this navigation of the recruiting process for you young athletes, and how parents need help on navigating through this opportunity. So appreciate you guys. Love y'all, man, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday on the next topic of discussion coming up. And like I said, look at for some new things coming up with some interviews. All right. Y'all have a safe rest of the week. Be blessed. And until next time, hey, love the game 24/7.